Manning is a hero to all people who oppose war. He's our hero, and we need to stand up for him. And speaking of the military, what is this with don't ask, don't tell? I mean, how hypocritical to say you're, part of this don't ask, don't tell movement and not stand up for Bradley Manning. So, what it sounds like to me is a don't ask, don't care. Also, while we stand up for Bradley Manning, we also need to start creating alternatives for youth. All youth. Yes. Alternatives to the military. Yes. And stop using our youth as cannon fodder in wars that none of us support. Right. And in the meantime, let's also stand up for stopping the rape of the women soldiers that's going on rampantly every day. So I'd just like to say, Bradley Manning speaks for me, and Bradley Manning must be free.
Bradley Manning speaks for me. Bradley Manning must be free. I like that. Very good. And now I'm going to bring on Star Child, who is a former candidate for supervisor here in District 8. And also a member of the Libertarian Party. Star Child.
Thank you, Tommy. I'm here today representing the Libertarian Party of San Francisco and Outright Libertarians, the party's GLBTQ caucus, and also the Freedom community, which I consider everyone here to be a part of by virtue of coming out today and speaking for Bradley Manning and for freedom and against government oppression. We are Bradley Manning.
Yes.
Yeah. I'd also like to say that this problem in part that we have with the Pride Committee not representing, I don't think, the spirit and will of the people of San Francisco or the queer community in San Francisco is directly related to lack of transparency. I was very interested in Gary Virginia's comments as a participant in this process and talking about how the process was not transparent. We don't know who voted for who or even how many votes were cast. And this kind of insiderism always contributes to these kinds of problems, in my opinion. This is something I've actually been active on within the Libertarian Party too, and pushing for transparency, because if we can't have transparency within our own organizations from the bottom up, how are we going to get it with government in the larger world? How are we going to make government accountable to the people if our own organizations aren't even accountable to us and don't speak for us? And we have this city, San Francisco, that has been taking basically as much money as it can get out of the community in the form of fees for festivals and protests. Yeah, I'm also a sex worker and a marijuana activist. Yay. There used to be a marijuana celebration every year in front of Civic Center. Oh, yeah. And it hasn't happened the past couple of years because they've jacked the fees way up through the roof.
$13,000.
And this is the reason it costs so much to participate in Pride. Corporations can afford to do it, but can community groups afford to have a booth? Can we afford to march in the parade and pay all those permit fees and everything? This is taking money directly out of our community and using it to promote positions, as we've seen with Lisa Williams and the Pride Committee, that we don't support. When are we going to stand up and demand to take back our own organizations? This is really about fundamental human rights issues. As was mentioned by another speaker, Amnesty International and reputed human rights groups have found that Bradley Manning was tortured. This is clearly unconstitutional, clearly an affront to basic human rights. This is the same organization, the U.S. government, that for many years until recently didn't even allow equal participation in the U.S. military by queers. And I could really identify with Bradley Manning in that. A lot of people don't know this about me, but I was also formerly in the U.S. Army myself for 6 years. At the time I went in, I was not out as bisexual. But nevertheless, I experienced a good degree of homophobia, especially going through basic training. And so, his experience in not having people to sit with at lunch and not having the camaraderie and support of the military as an institution and as because of that climate of oppression that was created is something that I have a lot of empathy with, and I have the deepest admiration and respect for him for standing up and now for being in jail for 3 years as a martyr to the cause of freedom and justice and people power, bottom up, that we all should stand for, that I think is a queer value. If queers have any values that are not just part of the mainstream and assimilationist, surely it means to stand up for the freedom to be nonconformist, to speak your conscience and to report war crimes. We reported civilians being shot at from helicopter in Iraq. This is something we, the American people, need to know about and need to speak out against and resist with our tax dollars. You know, tax dollars are funding this, and to the extent that you support higher taxes, you're supporting government oppression, war crimes, killing of innocent civilians, continues under Obama. And Obama, the Democrat president, now claims the power to unilaterally kill anyone around the world at any time, including you.